Hello everyone. Uh, we will start our next session. Right. So, a quick recap, we have seen that in the last session, what is the importance and role of strategic sourcing, purchasing, procurement, right, or supply management in general, in industry or in any organization. Okay. We just started with the importance of this function, right, in the context of first organization, right. We will come to the relationships with the suppliers a bit later. First, why any organization should uh, give importance to strategic sourcing function, or other way around, what is the role of strategic sourcing or supply management function in improving or impacting the performance of an organization. So we have already seen, we are moving from the traditional concept of sourcing to uh, getting generating value with the help of suppliers. Okay. So we have also discussed, the role of companies, very famous world renowned companies, which have made an important impact, in terms of sourcing, and they have utilized, the sourcing relationships, to make the supply chain better, and, to have good customer satisfaction, right. So today we would be focusing on what is the importance, okay, as I've told you, in an organization, why they should emphasize on sourcing, right. The first aspect is the sourcing costs. They represent 40 to 80% of cost of goods sold, right. So why this range 40 to 80? Because, it has been observed that the manufacturing sectors, since manufacturing has to buy raw materials, right, they have to buy assemblies, parts, components, right. So that's where, the major spend goes, right. But it is true for services also. The percentage of spend on purchasing might be lesser than manufacturing, but still it holds a good contribution, right, towards the spend in purchasing. It represents 30 to 50% of revenues earned, right, and it is a significant driver of financial performance, right. So if we have to see, what is the impact of sourcing decisions, right, which can be transformed in form of reducing the cost related to spend, right. If a company is spending a lot in buying products or buying goods or buying services, if some effort can be put up in reducing that cost, right, how it would impact the return on assets, right. So we all know the how to compute return on assets if we know inventory turnover, profit margin, and if we know the sales, total assets, right. So this is the formula. Here we have, we all know sales minus total cost will give me profit, right. Profit divided by sales would give profit margin, right. Inventory is a good component of total assets, right. And, this is the sales divided by total assets will give me inventory turnover, and when we will multiply inventory turnover with profit margins, it give me return on assets, right. Now given this formulae, or, you can say, the relationships between sales, inventory turn, this one. Now our proposition is, what is the impact on financial performance? If some effort can be utilized in terms of reducing cost, where cost is appearing here, it will also show. Basically, when we would say we would reduce cost, right, we are trying to say that we are going to reduce material cost, right. So it can be by reducing the price of the product, the raw material, right, or it might be substituting with some other material which is a low cost material, right, or by switching to some supplier, or by buying in bulk or volume, right? By any means or by any sourcing strategy, if I would be able to reduce the cost, right, it will be shown on my balance sheet or on my financial indicators in terms of inventory total cost. Now, let's do an exercise if we will reduce this by 10%, okay. So, let's say 10% here, this reduction if we would compute, right. So, we can use Excel to do it. If we will do that, right. So, we will see that there would be an increase of return on assets by 100%. Okay. So, if we will utilize the data here, right, here given in the bottom of each box, if we will utilize this data and compute return on assets, and then we will go for 10% reduction in cost, 10% reduction in cost, it would be reflected in 100% increase in return on assets. Okay. So, now to compare, whether this proposition is better than any other effort to put in to achieve the same performance, right? What do we have here, right? We have either option of reducing cost or we have option of improving sales, right? Now, if I want to, if second exercise, right? First exercise we have done by 10% reduction in cost. Now, second exercise we want to do by increasing sale. Increasing sales, but my target is I want to improve my ROA to 20%, right. So, if I want to achieve the same performance of 20% by increasing sale, then how much effort I have to put in to increase the sales, right. So, this can be determined, right, if we would use the profit margin formula. Profit margin is nothing but the change in profit, right, divided by change in sales, right. We want to determine this change in sales, which would help me in improving my ROA to 20%, right. So, or we can say that which would help me in getting the new profit. What is the new profit? The profit which we have achieved by 10% reduction in the cost, right. So, because in the first exercise we have reduced 10% of the cost and we have got some profits, right. Now, I want to see to achieve the same profit, right, by improving the sales, how much effort I have to put in the sale. So, this case I have new profit with me. So, this is my new profit. Old profit is like, without 10% reduction in the cost, the original case, and I want to know the change in sales, but I want to keep my profit margin same, right, which is there in the original case, like the same profit margin which I should get from the sales and profit, right. So, if I will do that, so if you will put in the values, I will get the change in sales of this amount, right. So, this is 1 lakh, right, or you can say 0.1 million, right. So, that means my change in sales is this. If my original sales was 0.1 million or 1 lakh, so I will add this change in sales to this, and this is turn out to be 0.2 million or 2 lakh, right. That means, I have to put effort of increasing sales to 100%, right, increase by 100%, and I have to make it to 0.2 million or 2 lakhs, right, to have the similar impact which we would get by reducing the cost by 10%, right. So, this is called profit leverage effect. What is the increase in profit obtained by a decrease in purchase spend, right. So, this gives us the impact, of any effort we made in the sourcing or purchasing function on the profitability, or your financial balance sheet, right. So, what are the other benefits we get? What are the other benefits organization get out of sourcing is, and why they should focus on that? These days, companies are consolidating their suppliers, right. So, gone are the days when a company has to manage thousands and thousands of suppliers, right. So, they are consolidating on the buying of sub assemblies rather than part piece, So, they are now buying sub assemblies, right. So, and rather than making everything in house, right, it is always beneficial for companies to go for outsourcing, right. When we will learn the topic of outsourcing, we would say that as the time evolves, as the technology matures, every company wants to focus on their core competency, or they want to adopt on the new technologies, right, and they keep changing. So is their core competency, right. And with the continuous assessment, it has been observed that most of the activities in any organizations which were done in house are now going to be outsourced, right. So, this is one, and even you will see services also, right. So, even the manufacturing industry, which for quite long has been seen as hardcore manufacturing, even those those sectors, like are more or less offering services, right. If you buy a car, it is not only the maybe the technology of the car, which would be the only criteria, but there would be other services like after sales service, right, the parts availability of that vehicle, right, that is more important, okay. So, with the more and more advent of new services, right, even the age old manufacturing sector, which are used to be hardcore manufacturing, they are also are having more components of services in that. Some of those services again are the good candidate for being outsourced, right. Companies are outsourcing their logistic services rather than owning their own trucks, these days companies prefer to outsource the logistics services to third party logistics providers, right, and many administrative services. Many companies, they even outsource the purchasing functions altogether to other companies, right. So, as more and more services are being outsourced, right, we have more and more reliance on suppliers or outsourcing partners. Our external spending has been raised, right. So, so is the work of sourcing and its impact on the organization performance, right. The other is we are going for global sourcing, right. It does not matter where supplier is located. If that supplier is the best supplier, the companies want to catch hold of it, okay. So, with expansion, other challenges comes, right. As we go global, right, as we increase the length of supply chain, so is the more and more exposure of risk, disruptions, right. So, again, to manage all that, right, whose shoulders this responsibility would come? Supply management, right. So, these are the some indicators, like why this function is like given importance in the organization, right? So, supply management function in any organization, they helps in preventing troubles which are mostly operational in nature, like quality delivery, right? They also impact, the strategic uh, decision making, for example, future orientation toward effective and efficient methods of sourcing, right? How we can include the technology and new AI, to make important decisions, right?